Millions of people leave their homes every morning expecting a completely normal day. A quick drive to work, dropping the kids at school, running errands. But stepping into a car and merging onto a highway is statistically one of the most dangerous things a person will do all day. Yet the risk of driving is not distributed evenly across the globe. In some countries, a momentary lapse in judgment, say tapping the brakes a second too late, ends with a dented bumper and an insurance claim. In other parts of the world, that same mistake turns deadly in a matter of seconds. It's easy to blame death rates entirely on reckless individuals, speeding or running red lights. But human error exists everywhere. High fatalities happen when everyday mistakes combine with complete system failure, crumbling infrastructure, non-existent laws, and unroadworthy vehicles. This creates compounding risk. A fatal crash rarely traces back to a single bad decision. It is the mathematical end result of a massive chain reaction. The roads degrade, the vehicles lack safety features, the laws go unenforced, and emergency help fails to arrive. To understand why some roads are so lethal, we have to deconstruct how these layers stack up against the driver. The ground level of this risk begins with physical infrastructure. Take Libya, a country with heavily elevated road death rates. Outside major urban centers, drivers navigate severely damaged roads, often completely lacking street lighting or basic traffic signs. A driver loses a significant amount of control before they even press the gas pedal. When a rural route is littered with deep, unpredictable craters like these, driving in a straight line becomes physically impossible. Vehicles are constantly forced to swerve erratically into oncoming traffic, or brake violently just to keep moving forward. Add bad weather to the mix, and that baseline danger multiplies. Heavy rains turn those damaged surfaces into shallow rivers. When vehicles are forced to wade through flooded sections of highway, drivers lose almost all surface traction, neutralizing their ability to steer or stop in an emergency. The second layer of risk is modality. Simply put, how people choose to travel. In Thailand, millions rely on motorcycles because they are fast and affordable. But as you see here, riders are packed shoulder to shoulder with heavy trucks and cars. A minor fender bender that might bruise a driver inside a steel frame easily kills an unprotected biker instantly. In many developing nations, the risk is compounded by heavily overloaded transport. Carrying passengers and massive cargo stacked high on the roof drastically shifts a vehicle's center of gravity. At high speeds, one sudden turn to avoid a pothole or a single blown tire easily tips the entire bus into a catastrophic rollover. When you combine degraded, unpredictable roads with highly vulnerable modes of transport, navigating them safely requires a level of absolute, sustained perfection from the driver. And human beings are simply not capable of being perfect 100% of the time. When perfection fails, technology is supposed to catch us. Wealthier nations rely on modern crash protection, crumple zones, automatic braking, and highly engineered airbags. But in poorer economies, people are driving decades-old vehicles completely stripped of these modern safety features, reducing crash survivability to near zero. Then you introduce the human wildcards: aggressive speeding, looking down at a phone for 3 seconds, or driving under the influence of alcohol. These behaviors happen globally, drastically reducing reaction times and making the eventual impacts far more violent. In places with weak law enforcement, ignoring these safety rules becomes a cultural norm. These crucial laws exist on paper, much like this strict helmet sign. But down on the street, speeding and driving unprotected are everyday habits, because drivers know there is rarely any real consequence. Even when every single one of those previous systems fails and a violent crash happens, the victim is often still breathing. The final layer of the safety net is emergency medical services. But in dense, informal urban settlements or rural sub-Saharan Africa, reaching those victims in time is a logistical nightmare. Ambulances frequently get trapped navigating impossibly narrow, unpaved paths, entirely unable to access the crash site. Because medical care cannot arrive during those critical first few minutes, highly treatable injuries turn into guaranteed fatalities. The absence of rapid emergency response is the final seal on a system that abandoned the driver at every possible step. The tragedy of these broken road systems is that they also kill completely innocent bystanders. The victims are often pedestrians, cyclists, and children forced to walk on the immediate shoulder of fast-moving traffic, because city planners never built sidewalks or physical barriers to protect them. Yet none of this is permanent. The data shows that mass traffic fatalities are highly preventable. The solution comes down to building an architecture of survival. This chart shows the direct correlation between systemic design and human life. When countries invest in infrastructure, enforce speed limits, and fund emergency response, the fatality line drops steeply. Every data point pushing that line downward represents a real person, someone who made a mistake but walked home instead of becoming a statistic. Getting behind the wheel should never be a game of chance. Surviving your daily commute has very little to do with personal luck, and almost everything to do with whether the society around you built a system designed to keep you alive.